everyone, welcome to this week's video. So this week I'm going to show you exactly how I set up for every single session. So you guys know, and you've probably seen through my images, I use a lot of props, more than the beanbag, but I'm going to show you how to sort of prepare your client, understand what they sort of want, what they're envisioning their session to be, because they've probably looked around so much photographers' websites or how to have a particular style they've done previously for another child for a newborn session, or they've experienced some other photographer before, and they have that sort of vision that that's what they're going to get at your session with you. So it's really important to understand first what your client is thinking, what they're trying to achieve coming to you, and then through that actually setting up for your session. So I'm going to take you through step 1 to step 5 and then show you exactly how I understand all that information, how I take it, how I set up through every session. And sometimes throughout the session, if you've got a particular setup, it doesn't always mean that that's what you're going to stick to. Your clients might come in, see something, show you something off your work before, off your website or your Facebook page, and tell you and ask you, oh, can we do this today, and things like that. So everything isn't set in stone. Things will change, but it is a good idea, and every photographer, I think, should have a setup to actually get started and move through the session as easy as possible. So I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. Now, the very first thing I wanted to share with you is what I do when a client says to me, okay, I'm happy to book, send me all the information. Now, we send out a variety of emails. I think it's about 4 emails. I do this because each email is titled something different, and that way when they want to refer back to the email, they know from the title of the email that that's the email for that particular thing. So the first email we send out is the contract email. The second email we send out obviously is our invoice email, so our deposit, our retainer to get them booked in. The third email we send out has the questionnaire, which I'll show you in a second. And the fourth email has our session information. So how to prepare for their session, what to bring, things to do beforehand, ideas on clothing, and all that stuff. So, but the important thing here for this video is to explain the questionnaire. Now, if you do newborn and maternity and cake smash and family, it's a good idea to have a questionnaire for every single type of session, only because you want to be asking different things as well. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to show you, because most of you guys do newborn photography, so I'm going to show you what kind of questions I put in my questionnaires. Now, the tips here are to keep the questionnaire really clear, as short as questions as you can. So try and make them as short as possible. Either a yes or no answer or a short answer you require from them, and not a lot of questions, because you don't want to make it feel like homework for a client to actually go through the process to come in and book with you. You want to make the whole overall experience as easy and possible and just straightforward. So I've got a questionnaire. Now, I use 17 hats, and you guys would have known that by now, but every sort of business system you use has the ability for you to create questionnaires. Now, if you don't have a business system, don't freak out. You can use Google Forms, which are super easy to use. So Google Forms, there's Typeform, there is Jotform. These 3 are the best, and they're free as well. So you don't need to have a business system in place to actually create good questionnaires, and very professional looking too. So these forms, you can just create the forms, you can grab this shareable link, and you can just pop it in that email, and all they have to do is open the link and just fill it out. Now, these they won't clash with a lot of clients. So if you have like 10 clients and you give them the same link, it doesn't matter, because the responses are separate as well, and only you can see them based on how much clients fill out that questionnaire or survey, or whatever it is you want to use it for. But I use 17 hats, and it's got the ability to actually create questionnaires in there. So this is what it looks like. I'm going to hide the client's name, and it's just got try and keep them short as possible. but I'm going to read them out to you just so you can get an idea. And what I've done is I've put a freebie with this video, so wherever you're watching this, there should be a link. Go to the blog and download it. It's just some questions that are good to actually put into your questionnaires to ask your clients. And you know, and there is reasons behind these questions. That way you can help yourself understand them personally, what they're trying to achieve, what they want to do with these images and things like that. So with my newborn questionnaire, I first of all, you know, say a little intro. I'm excited to be photographing you and your bundle of joy. I'd love being prepared and being able to give each client their personal needs in their session when it comes to colors and props and what they'd like to receive from the whole outcome. When it comes to designing albums, wall arts, and other products. Please take a moment, answer these questions, and send it through before your session so I can better understand you as an individual. So it asks, are you having a boy or girl? Simple question. Date of birth, what is your child's name? Does the newborn have any special requirements I should be aware of? So is the baby, for instance, I ask this because is the baby premature? Or you know, has special needs, like any condition I should know about? Does your do you have other children who wish to be part of this session? So do they have siblings? That way I know what kind of shots I need to take prior to them coming in. Ages of other children if you're bringing them in. Will the parents like to be included? I like to ask this so I know how the workflow is going to go, because I get so much parents that just don't want to be included. They just want the session to be for the baby. So I also ask them, are they happy for me to go behind the scenes? So like on Facebook Live, or if I've got my videographer in here, I'm shooting anything, blog behind the scene, anything like that, I always ask that question as well. Also, I ask things like, I know a lot of people have a story behind the conceiving of the baby or the birth. Do you have any story? Like, it's a long thing, but I'm just cutting it for you guys. So is there any story, something special about your baby or your journey to having your baby that I should know of that we can incorporate in the images? So maybe it's a rainbow baby, maybe this baby, woman has gone through a lot of IVF, or, you know, any special, you know, things that might help me sort of understand, or even help me start a conversation with them once they're in the studio during their session. Also, I ask them things like, do you prefer wall art or albums? So when I'm shooting, if they've said wall art, I can also say, are you thinking of hanging these images? So I know which one are you thinking of hanging, so I know how to shoot it. That way, when they take it, they're not disappointed that because I've shot it, you know, vertically instead of horizontally, let's just say, for instance. Think about, you know, I always tell them, think about at least 2 spaces you would hang these sort of images. They usually say nursery or living room. I say this to embed in the client's mind that you are going to use these images. They're not just going to sit on your USB at home in a drawer somewhere. So, and also imply that I do have albums and wall arts, and we do create these images for this final product and things like that. So it's another good way to actually start the conversation going, so that way when you do your sales session, you are, you know, you're implying that you might sell them an album or a wall art set, etc. There is so much questions here, but I like to keep at least 2-page question. That's the way to go. Don't keep it too long. I find that it can just bore them and think, oh my God, what is this, like an essay before I go and book a session? Like, can't I just take my baby in a few shots and head out? So you want to keep it in between, sort of. Also ask him, do you like props and baskets? What kind of colors matches your style? So I know if some people don't like color at all, they want neutral. And then they tell you that, and that way you know what colors to use for your setup. I always ask them, are you more towards modern or traditional sort of person in your style? If you're on a limited budget, sort of where would you shop? That way I understand what kind of furniture they have and things like that, and what would suit the type of images I would take for them if they're going to hang them in their home. You know, ask them things like, what are you planning to do with these images? Hang them, store them, digital albums, things like that. So things like that will help you sort of understand how to set up your session and how to create setups. So when they come in, you get started straight into your workflow and it's easy to go. So I'm going to show you some setups I do let's just say based on this questionnaire, and how easy it is when the client comes in, you can get started straight away. That way it lessens your session time, you're nice and organized, you know what colors, you don't have to spend a whole half an hour talking to your client in the studio discussing what colors and things like that. So once you have those setups based on the questionnaire, you're good to go. By all means, you can change things, switch things along the way. At least you have a solid base to start off. Setup, I would always start with the beanbag. And I would start with either naked or wrap, it doesn't really matter, or even an outfit, as you can see there on the beanbag. But I'd start with the beanbag because that's a good place to start. Now, I'm the type of photographer who loves her props. So I sometimes start with props because clients come in more excited for me to use the prop. So I might start with that last. But it doesn't matter with what you start with first. It's totally up to you. And it depends on the baby and the session, how it's running. But it's a good idea to actually, for the purpose of these videos, just to show you three sort of setups you can get started with. So the beanbag with a naked baby or wrapped baby or a baby in an outfit is always a good place to start, or a part of your workflow overall. Then I move to the second sort of setup, which I've got here, is just a backdrop. It's a bit creased at the moment because I've just unrolled. I haven't used it for a while. With a bed or any prop you want. You can use that drawer over there. I'm just holding the drawer, using the drawer to hold down the backdrop because it's creased. And start with a prop. So you can move from the beanbag to the prop easily and smoothly. So let's just say the baby was wrapped on the beanbag. You can grab the baby, put a different color wrap on top, and just pop them straight into the bed without even having to disturb them. So that's a good idea when you're setting up these three setups, or how many you do. It's a good idea to think, okay, how can I transition the baby without even having to disturb them? So the more you do that, the more you get used to it and the more easier it becomes. So try and set up similar colors, and that way when you're creating albums or images, they all sort of have the same color. They're under the same color palette, if you know what I mean. So that's the second one I would set up. The third one would be my Flocati as well. For just some pop of color, a lot of clients request the Flocatis. If this was a boy, I would use the blue or the yellow or the green Flocati. Both of them go nice with the brownish beanbag setup and the steel bed. So anything like that. And what I would use under the Flocati is just a cushioning, a round cushioning that I showed you in last week's blog. The pillow, the long pillowcase. I'll pop that under the Flocati, pop my Flocati on the floor, and just put the baby inside there with a nice bonnet, or if it's a girl, I'd put a headband, things like that. You can also grab another basket, which I'll show you in a second. If you don't want to use a Flocati, another basket is a good way to go as well. I've just taken out two examples to show you. So this one to the left is the basket and to the right is a bowl. So anyone you use will work well. You can pop these on the Flocati, like the blue one, the yellow one, whichever you choose, and then you can wrap the baby inside. So there you go. That's like 3 or 4 setups there for you to easily transition to. And once you have them all set up, so what I would do in this case, I would ask the client what color Flocati they want me to use, and I'll have these bowls on standby there, and then just grab the Flocatis, and I try not to crowd the place too much. So I'd remove just the bed, pop the Flocati on top with a bowl or a basket, and then transition the baby inside the prop itself. So that way it's easier as well. And you have 3 different setups. Now you guys should know that at every setup, the most important thing is to actually capture great angles, because that's what changes the look of the setup. The way you capture the angle, how you shoot it, and things like that is very, very, very important. So once you know how to get different angles, different shots out of each setup, you'll find yourself filling a gallery of over 30 images, which I think is pretty much more than enough. So hopefully this video gave you a bit of a guide of how easy it is just to pick props based on the questionnaire and just to set them up and move from one to the other, hopefully not disturbing the baby too much, and just changing it with a few things as well, just so you can get a variety of images. And the tip here is for every setup to get different angles of that setup of the baby. That way you'll find yourself filling up the gallery with more different looks of images. So hopefully you enjoyed this week's video. I will see you guys next week for another video. Until then, take care.